Just want to show you wonderful curiosities we have in this auction. Someone that looked at the catalog when it was ready to go to press, they said, wow, there is such diversity in this auction. And yes, there is. It's a wonderful, wonderful collection. I love to think about the collectors that give us their, really their life to sell of all of the things that they've acquired over the years. And I've always kind of wonder where the storyline is of why they acquired such a thing or where their curious mind was to take them there. So I just picked out a few samples of things that I think are just wonderful from this auction. We have here a wonderful automaton by Vichy, the man, the fruit seller man, and the fruits lift one by one, showing in turn 3 different particular activities happening. There we go, there's number 2. And meanwhile, he's turning his head from side to side, like suggesting to people that they might want to purchase one of these rare fruits. And let me wind him a little more so we can keep going and you can see the third surprise. And meanwhile, music plays the entire time. He's a wonderful and very, very rare piece by Vichy in beautiful working condition with great sound. I have this great pair. I loved these pair of dolls when they came in because it immediately flashed into my mind Margain Lacroix. Margain Lacroix had a studio in Paris about the time of World War I, and it was the Margain Lacroix studio that held this famous exhibition of dolls where who was introduced? Yes, the famous and rare Albert Marc doll. It was an exhibition of dolls wearing theatrical or historical costumes, highlighted by about 15 Albert Marc dolls that are so rare to find today. But most people don't realize that also in that exhibition were other dolls of SFBJ wearing historical costumes. Sometimes we can find them and they will have the original cloth label, Margain Lacroix, stitched to the inside of the costume. These do not, but I've seen enough to suggest that that's what these probably came from, that exact exhibition. And one of the clues is the shoes that they are wearing, because all of the dolls in that exhibition had these particular well-fitting nylon stockings and the white kidskin shoes, almost like a slipper with a little heel. And then they were marked with the incised boot and modèle déposé on the bottom. But here the Marquise and the Marquis dressed in their original costumes. They're just a wonderful pair. Oh, he's had a little too much wine, I guess. Turn him around so you can see him better. Okay, and there they are. Now over here is another fellow, and I don't really know his maker. I don't know if he's Germany or French, but I do know that he has like this wonderful armature body with the kid arms that are French. He is of wax, a honey-toned wax. He has the wax lower legs, which have the painted striped stockings and the painted black shoes, and his wax sculpting even includes his hair with the style of the little black ponytail in the back and the rolled curls at the sides of his head. And he's wearing his entirely original costume. In many ways reminds me of the style of Neapolitan dolls. And then the beautiful, the beloved, can you ever find one for your collection that you dream of? The wonderful cloth doll by Izana Walker, who desired to make an American doll about 1860 in which a child could play with it. And as she said, if she dropped it and stepped on it, it wouldn't break. And that's what we have, this wonderful Izana Walker. She has the desirable features that you look for in Izana Walker. Look at the curls at the sides of her head. Beautiful double ringlet curls at each side of her face in front of the fully sculpted ears. A beautiful, beautiful example of Izana Walker. We sold this collection, a Connecticut collection, about 4 years ago, and the woman kept one doll. This was the only doll she wanted to keep at the time, and her daughter called us a few months ago and said, we need to sell my mother's Izana Walker now. So it had been in that collection for a number of years, and now Izana will travel to find a new home. And I hope it will be you. She's a great doll. And then I have this wonderful pair of French dolls, and they're wearing their original costumes of Normandy, France. And they have their wonderful French style, French poupée style early body with the firmly pressed muslin torso, and then the kid arms, which are in perfect condition. Look at the hands, they're just wonderful. And the costumes are entirely original, and they were obviously a prosperous and well-fed couple, older couple. And again, because I love looking at fabrics, I wanted you to see the fabric of her skirt, the fabric of her shawl, her wonderful shawl, her beautiful jewelry, and finally look at her coif, which I'm going to turn around. So you can see the streamers in the back and how it is tied to fit her head. Just a very beautiful couple, probably dating from mid to early 1800s and preserved impeccably, which is just never found. A wonderful opportunity. Okay, we have some great characters in this auction too, and I like that they're all, can't you just see the great display you could make with a group of these at your home? They're just absolutely wonderful. So let me just run through them quickly and you can see. We have a wonderful character doll from the Art Germany character series, and what I like about her in particular is I love her schoolgirl costume in the red and blue. And look, she's holding this early children's book called Ups and Downs. And boy, doesn't that describe this past year for all of us. So this is a great, beautiful example of an early and rare painted eye character. And that's what I've mostly put out here, are painted eye characters I want you to see, because that's how the art movement started. Dolls very often have hidden secrets. And we have here two examples. And what are their hidden secrets? Let me show you. Yes. You pull her apart, she separates at the waist, and when someone first had this, it came filled with delicious candies. And what a wonderful candy box. A little bisque doll on a sled in her original costume, originally disguising her candy treats inside, and her little Hoybach character boy friend with his original skiing costume does the same thing, separates at the mid-torso, because he was originally a candy container. Rare and great, they're just wonderful items. This is a little bit later than the rest of the dolls at the auction, rest of the dolls on this table, but she was from the Sasha Morgenthaler Studios in Switzerland, and she's one of the original studio dolls with her original body, a very, very unique body. And we've been able to now, with so much research that's been done, this doll was acquired from Theriault by her collector in 1999. And I looked at how I cataloged it then, and we didn't know that much about Sasha at the time. There's so much good research that's been done. We're able to date her precisely because of the style of the Sasha lettering on her original costume. So this is just a great doll to have in impeccable original condition, which is wonderful. Another little doll by Gebruder Hoybach, sometimes known affectionately by collectors as Spinach Boy, because I guess that's the expression they think a child would make when they're eating spinach. Although frankly, when I look at this doll, I tend to think, boy, you could have so much fun. Write me a caption. Tell me what is this doll expressing, which is a good way of describing a great many of the Gebruder Hoybach character dolls and why they maintain their really pleasure among collectors. They just love them. They love the way their expressions are so realistic of real children and real moods and real activities or emotions you might be expressing. This is a very, very rare example to find. And I wanted to point something out to you. On the back, if your camera can pick it up, look at the little fat rolls on his neck. This is the kind of thing that Hoybach achieved that I don't think any other maker really achieved to the level that they did. And now, having seen that, turn it around and look again at his face. And look at all the levels of crinkles on the face. Just absolutely wonderful. I chose this little doll to show you because I love her costume. This is one of the Sonenberg dolls. And what does it look like? It looks like an early model of a brew. And indeed it does. But it's not. It was made in Sonenberg, and one of the what are affectionately called by collectors the Great Pretender dolls, because they were designed in their time, about 1880, to resemble the French bébés, Bru or Chameaux, because the Sonenberg makers wanted to try to capture that very lucrative doll market. I love this one, and a lot of collectors now are looking at these more and more because they find them very affordable prices with a French look. And this one, what a great costume she has. All original silk costume in jade green and rose, and it's just wonderful. Who could never love a Poulbot? The wonderful urchin child of Montmartre. And when you know the history of these dolls, you love them even more, because designed by the famous French illustrator Poulbot about the time of World War I. And the doll was designed to resemble an urchin, a little orphan urchin in the parts of Paris, particularly Montmartre, who had been left homeless after World War I. And in fact, he did an entire series of posters based upon these orphan children. And then he created his one doll, his one bisque doll model, and that is the Poulbot. It was done as both a boy and a girl. This is the boy, and he was, ironically, because I think this is a girl's name, named Nanette by Poulbot. So here is a wonderful and rare Nanette. Here is an outstanding doll. Remember a little while ago I mentioned the fascination with the Scottish costumes? And here is one of the very, very rare painted eye Marseille dolls. Painted eye, painted eye. I keep repeating that because that's really important to notice on here. Wearing his original Scottish costume, and I want to take his little hat off because you also really need to see that hat is so important to the costume, but you need to see him without the hat because you really see how significant the facial expression is. This is an extremely rare doll and a real treasure for any collector to have or to own. Now we'll put his hat back on so he can be proper. A couple months ago, we had a composition doll that was wearing this chest mask from the Strauss Manufacturing Company, and it is actually like a store model, a miniature store model that were made for children to play with when they were trying to push the people-sized chest masks, chest protectors and gloves and face shields that the company actually specialized in making. And here's a child-size one with all of the original lettering on it. And it's on a bisque head character doll, no markings on him, but he has a great face, and he actually looks like he should be wearing this chest protector because he kind of looks a little nervous about, am I going to catch that ball or not when it comes my way? Fabulous, fabulous piece. And then finally, another example of one of the rare painted eye series from Marseille. Very, very seldom do these show up at all. And to have two of them in the same auction is quite extraordinary and quite rare. These are just some of the many, many dozens of wonderful rare art characters in and As the Page Turns auction catalog coming out shortly. And I want to conclude this presentation with a wonderful selection of always happy, always the kind of doll you want to greet you when you walk in your house at night, the smiling, happy, wide-eyed Googlies. And I made a little arrangement here because I wanted you to see, we tend to think, think Googly, and then we tend to think of a bisque model of something, but the whole concept of the Googly began with a Palmer Cox, of which this is an example right in the front, doll made in the Palmer Cox manner and composition in about 1890 period. And then it was used in all sorts of other mediums, from the felt of Lenchy to the composition of American to, of course, our beloved bisque. And I have a wonderful examples of various types here. And I want you to the camera's going to keep scanning across all of their faces and you can look at them. And I'll just mention a couple things while we're scanning. Some of these, I'm happy to say, are in their original costumes because very often they were bought as like a happy memory doll, and they weren't a play doll that a child played with per se, so it was always kept in its original costume. I have a really interesting, intriguing Cupid here with a garland. These are sculpted flowers, and they've been fired onto the all bisque Cupid. I don't know if this was an original factory production or was done something that was later added on and fired on. It's a real curiosity to me. I've never seen another one, and you have to judge for yourself. All sorts of companies made the Googlies. They're from Kestner to Gebruder Hoybach to K-Star R to Armand Marseille. And then there were even companies like Lenchi making them. And I just love this little golfer that we have coming up in our auction. And look at those little googly eyes. They're just really, really great. We have one here that's very unusual, I have never seen before, and that is called a Canyon Kitty. And he was designed, I've never seen this doll, from an original book done by, I'm going to show you the title page here, the Canyon Country Kitties, drawn by James Swinnerton, and he had a comic strip of the Canyon Country Kitties, say that 10 times, in Good Housekeeping magazine from the 1920s to 1940. And this is the only book he ever did, and shows and tells a story of the Canyon Country Kitties. And there is one of the dolls right there, very rare. I've never seen it before, frankly. And I could kind of tell you on here, I could go through and point out pieces I've never seen before. And I know all of you are sometimes looking for the classics, and sometimes you say, I just want something different. And then we do have some wonderful Steiff pieces in this auction, and I put up here, I think, 5 teddy bears that you could take a look at, including 3 of the blank button teddies. And we have the very, very rare Dicky teddy, Steiff Dicky teddy, very rare to find. And we have an early Ideal teddy. So this is among, perhaps other, maybe 25 or 30 other Steiff bears and or early rare collectible animals that are in this collection. There are over 500 items in this wonderful 2 days of auction, and I know because of the variety, you're going to find something that will appeal to you, and you will be very, very pleased to see how beautifully preserved and maintained these pieces have been. I look forward to seeing you there the day of the auction. I'll be here, and I look forward to waving to you, and I hope you'll be watching us. And thanks very much for looking at the videos.